do I get rid of this? Close that. Okay.
All right. Hey there, y'all. Welcome to the Money Club. I am Lisa Duke, and I am here today with my guest, Andy Hill. Andy is the award-winning writer, speaker, and podcaster behind Marriage, Kids, and Money, a platform dedicated to helping young families build wealth and thrive. And he is here today to give us a little bit of inspiration from his personal experience and personal story. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. So, you were not born knowing everything about money and super rich. Tell us about your humble and tragic backstory.
My humble well, I grew up at no. I mean, I didn't grow up, super wealthy or anything like that. I graduated from college. I found myself doing the right thing by buying a home right away. The right thing,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what you're supposed to do with your money right away. I quickly found out that that was a really bad idea. I bought the house with like 10% down, and I ended up through a job change having the cost of my home be about 50% of my money, 50%
Ooh.
of my expenses. So I was quickly from going from this fun 22-year-old who loved to go to the bar and have fun with his friends and go to concerts to all of a sudden being like, I need to eBay all of my DVDs and my CDs to make the heating bill payment. So so
Like straight into the worst part of adulting.
exactly. Right. And I thought I was doing the right thing. I'm like, I'm buying the house. And then lo and behold, over time, we hit this horrible thing called the Great Recession. And it hit Detroit pretty bad. And I was in one of the surrounding suburbs. And all of a sudden, my home, I owed about $180,000 on a home that was valued at $100,000. So
Mm,
all of these right decisions, I'm like, what is going on? I was supposed to do that. You're supposed to buy the house. You're supposed to get the mortgage. What is going on? And so I quickly learned a lot of mistakes in my 20s. And that really helped me to kind of know what to maybe try to do in my late 20s to late 30s. And that's kind of
right.
where when my wife and I got together and we started to make some smart money moves.
Oh, fantastic. And you and I were talking a little bit earlier, and you said you both brought debt into the relationship, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So another idea that I had in my 20s was, well, the mortgage thing was such a bad idea. Why didn't I go back and get my MBA too and take a bunch of student loan debt in order to do that? So I accumulated about $30,000 of student loans during that process, and I really didn't understand what the student loans how it all worked. Honestly, it was just they were giving me money, and I didn't have to check back with them on what I used the money for. So I started to use it for things like vacations, and I bought my wife's engagement ring with the student loans, and I was just like, oh, this is just free money. And then eventually I learned, oh, I got to pay all that back. And oh, it's about 7% interest. So yes, when I came into my marriage with my wife, I had about $30,000 of student loans, a little bit of a home equity loan because I like to rack that thing up too. And then my wife, she was squeaky clean. The only thing she had a lease car, and we
Hmm.
eventually decided to purchase that car and pay it off. So we
Hmm.
had $20,000 loan from her car, and then $30,000 for my student loans at the time when we got together. And we had about $50,000 debt when we got together. And there was a moment when we said, hey, we're going to be parents. We're going to
Mm,
be bringing a life into the world. And something
yeah.
snapped in my brain where I'm like, hey, not just living for today and, doing what you want to do. And you've made a lot of money mistakes in the past. What can you do to give your daughter a fantastic life in the future? And the first thing that popped in my mind was fixing our finances. So that's where we started.
Wow. Wow, that's fantastic. So you just kind of had your moment of spontaneous awakening with that uh, reality of bringing a whole person into the world. You're
Yeah.
like, hang on, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
responsible for a baby. Maybe I need to like get my own stuff
Maybe I
together.
need to stop acting like one, right? Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what we
Exactly,
did.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And you guys didn't stop there. This is one thing that I know we personally did, and I see a lot of people do. You get kind of motivated on the debt payoff, you pay down the credit cards, and then I see a lot of people maybe who backslide a little bit, or they're kind of tired and they just kind of pause there. But you guys didn't stop once you finished your, well, let's actually, before we go into that, do you have any suggestions for people that have had that, oh my gosh, moment? How do you sort of stop creating debt and start paying off debt? Because that's a really
Yeah.
hard transition.
Yeah, the big thing for us was putting our numbers down. And until
Mhm.
we actually did that, we didn't really understand what was coming in and what was going out. So
Mhm.
until we
Mhm.
started to make our budget, which we just did on an Excel sheet and started to write the numbers in, hey, we're both together now. You've got an income, I've got an income. We don't have kids. That's fantastic. We're essentially making double what we used to make before we were together. Why don't
Mhm.
we use this monster income? We were probably making, like $130,000 together
Mhm.
combined. And
Mhm.
before that, it was like 60 and 70. So we're together, we're in the same house, we're eating food together. What can we do with this big income to make a huge difference? So we started to write it down. Here's all the money coming in. Here's what we're spending going out. And then it was a big epiphany on what was going out. And one of the big things was, man, we're making these payments on our debts and it's a lot of money. So what can we do
Mm.
to maybe live on one of our incomes and then eliminate this debt within a year? And that's what we did. So we essentially
Yeah.
lived on one of our incomes and paid off that debt in less than 12 months. And yeah, we got kind of excited about the progress we were making. It started to give us some motivation on how we could achieve not only some financial goals but also some life goals. For my wife, she
Mm.
really didn't like her job,
Mhm.
so we found this as a way, hey, if we're making less debt payments and we can live on less, then you don't necessarily have to go back full time to this job that you're really not digging. And eventually, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, which she did,
Mhm.
that's an option for us now. So that became really exciting for us, and that was our path forward over the next couple of years.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's almost kind of an addiction. You get addicted to whatever your lifestyle is, your level of spending, and you think there's no way, right? Because it's all about when people are in that moment before they've made the change, it's all about what they're giving up. They're like, "But I like my life and I don't want to do without." And then something, I don't even know how to explain it, but a lot of it is that awareness piece when you start to see where your money is actually going and you're
Yeah,
like, okay, I like Starbucks, but I don't know if I like Starbucks better than I like, kids' college or better than
sure.
I like retiring one day or better than I like paying off my credit card. And there is something in your brain until you look at it. It's hard to realize because you think, oh, it's, $5 here, $10 there, until you see it all added up for the month. You're like, whoa, that's like
Yeah,
a car payment, right? It starts
absolutely.
to really kind of slap you in the face. So, all right. So I kind of alluded to this earlier, but you guys did not stop at the end of the debt payoff. You like
Yeah.
crazy people, you just kept going.
We were, and we were fortunate that during that time frame, we continued to grow. So not only $130,000 our income, we said, hey, well, what can we do to make more income?
Mm,
Even though we're looking at, Nicole going back to be a full-time stay-at-home mom, what can we do to keep moving things forward? So I had a sales commission job, and I'm like, well, what can I do to do my very best and grow my
right,
income?
right.
And during the 10-year period where we've been married, we had an average income of around $190,000. We had a big shovel to do a lot of these very important things. So I just want to
Hmm.
put that out there before we talk about any of our victories, because that helps for people to understand down the
Right.
path. So with that good income, we said, well, why don't we stick to the principles that we had when we got together of essentially living on half because we're making such good money,
Mm-hmm.
and do some incredible things for our family. So one of the things we decided to do was, let's save for our family forever home. She was living in my bachelor pad when we got married, so she was like, "All right, I'm done with this place. What can we do to get the real place, Sandy?" I'm
We
like,
got
"All
to get
right,
the
fine."
baby out of the bachelor pad. That's not going to work.
Exactly. Right. So we saved up about 50% for a down payment. This was about like $150,000 for this house we really wanted. So this just became a savings goal. Let's just
Hmm.
throw money into the bank until we
Hmm.
are ready to pull the trigger and get a house that we wanted. So we ended up finding this great house. And then Nicole and I made an agreement because I really had such a bad mortgage experience last time that I did not want to be drowning in my home like I was
Yeah.
previously. I said,
Yeah.
hey, we'll get this dream house, we'll put a big payment down, but let's pay it off in like 5 years. So I don't
Hmm.
ever have to worry about this mortgage stuff ever again, because I went through so much in the first 10 years of my life. I do not want that for the next 10. And she agreed. So we worked same sort of fashion. We lived on about half. Now, when she went full-time stay-at-home mom, we on half. There was some finagling we had to do. We had to some stuff around the house. We had to get some side hustles and things to keep that pace. But over the next 4 years, we were able to pay off our house completely. So now we are the happy homeowners of, I think I've just looked on Zillow last week. It's a $450,000 house and we own it free and clear. And that just makes me feel so good in the year of COVID where I'm like, man, at least I don't have to worry about losing my house, or at
Yeah.
least we have some place to live and my kids are happy and safe and healthy. So
Yeah.
that was
And
a big goal of ours.
how many years into this are we now from when you guys
Yep.
had the
Mhm.
hang on, we've brought another person into the world. We need to get our act together. From that point to we paid off our debt, including the
Yep.
student loans, including the mortgage. About how many years was that?
So we got married in 2010. We
Mhm.
had Zoe in 2012. We
Mhm.
were able to pay off our debt in between those 2 years. So
Okay.
2011, we were debt free.
Yeah.
2017, we became mortgage free.
Wow.
So first 7 years of our marriage, we were able to pay off $50,000 of debt and then about $200,000 of a mortgage balance. So,
Is it more fun mowing the lawn when you actually own it?
oh, you know it. You know it, Lisa. I just walk out there and put my feet in the grass. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is my grass.
Yeah, yeah. Most people are mowing the bank's grass, and the
That's
bank is
right. That's
like, "Thank you for maintaining our
Thank you for
asset."
making that look pretty, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just in case we have to sell it out from under you
Yeah.
someday. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, right? This would be a great place to rest on your laurels. No student loans, no mortgage. You're done, right? No other
What
financial goals, right?
Well, I really liked the lifestyle that we started to build for ourselves. And when you're able to build wealth, you're able to have some more options. So what we were able to do during our mortgage payoff process and then throughout that time was invest and do that for our retirement funds. We do this through tax advantage ways, the simple ways that you can do at your office, your 401k,
Mhm.
a Roth IRA. We signed up for an HSA through a health savings account. These were all tax advantaged ways for us to build wealth. And we didn't really have to do a ton.
Mhm.
I don't want to say set it and forget it, but we kind of did. We invested in low cost index funds and let the thing build from 2013 to 2020. My 401k alone, we maxed that out from 2013 to 2020, maxed that out, got the employer match at 15%, started at zero. When I left my job, we had $200,000 in there. And it's just
Holy
like,
cow.
it just
Yeah.
happens. And yes, we had a great market from 2013 to 2020, but even as you've seen, this year's been up and down and up and down. As long as you stay on the roller coaster, you don't get hurt, right? So
Yeah,
we
don't jump off partway through
don't
the ride.
don't jump off that roller coaster. It's dangerous. So yeah, we've been investing for our future through retirement. We've paid off our mortgage, and yeah, we at the beginning of this year we hit a net worth mark of $1 million. So within 10 years, my wife and I started at a net worth of negative $50,000 based on my home value being in the dumps and our debt. And now we are a little over $1 million in our 10th
Yeah.
year of marriage.
And the thing that's really striking about that is you are not the only person I've talked to that gives this 10-year track record. And right, like your mileage may vary. Everybody is
Absolutely.
coming into it from a different situation, different amount of debt, different amount of income. But I have heard a lot of people who said, like, they sort of had their, come to Jesus moment, as we say in the South,
Yep.
right? They had their kind of like wake
I'm
up
down with
call.
Jesus. You can bring him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they like have their moment when they're like, hang on, I've got to stop this like downward spiral. I've got to make the transition. And I'm not going to lie, right? Stopping living above your means, stopping creating debt. It's hard and it feels gross and it feels icky. And there's this sort of awful, we call it one of the coach programs I'm in, they call it the river of misery, right? There's this
Mm,
river of misery where you're trying to stop the old habitual behavior and lay down new habits. But
yeah.
then once you get the new habits going, again, kind of bumpy at first, but right, it's like riding a bike, it's a skill. And that becomes your new normal where you're like, this is just how we live. And at least from the little bit of your house that we can see behind you, right? It looks like you're living okay. You're not
Yeah.
like in a cardboard box in the Hardee's parking lot, right? Like this is the thing, right? Is once you make that transition, then it compounds upon itself, not just compound interest in your investment, but compound habits, right? We start fixing our money and then we decide to fix our diet and then we decide to fix our, exercising. It's these keystone habits that, and it's so hard because when you're in that downward spiral, you are so attached to it and it feels good because it's comfortable. It's what you're used to. But if you can make that transition and kind of start that upward spiral, now this is just how you live. You have a nice lifestyle. How many kids now?
We have 2 kids. Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
6-year-old and an 8-year-old.
yeah, that's
They're,
plenty.
upstairs being very patient on virtual school right now.
Yeah, you don't want them to outnumber you in a democracy. That
That's
could
right. No,
get
we're good. Yeah.
although mom and dad don't run a democracy generally in my experience, but
That's right.
till you start kicking in for rent, it's a
That's
it's
right.
a
That's right.
patriarchy or a matriarchy or a I don't know, a parentocracy.
There you go. I
But
like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you guys are living a nice life. You've got a lot of things going for you. But um, again, like I said, you see a lot of people that have made this transition from in debt to millionaires 10 years. And the
Yeah,
hardest part is stopping the,
sure.
bad behavior, the behavior that's leading you not where you want to go. And the first step of that, I really think, is the awareness. So, thank you so much for, the words of encouragement. This is possible. Hopefully this will get some people inspired. I know right now as we're recording this, it's the end of the year. Everybody's thinking about consumption and Christmas, but hopefully this will encourage folks to kind of moderate that spending. And as we go into the new year, hopefully a lot of people will find this and get the inspiration. This is a great New Year's resolution is make, 2021 the year you stop getting into debt and you start getting out of debt. So
Yeah.
I know that you have a lot more information that you have shared for folks, a lot of resources out there. So tell people if they're listening to this, they like you, you got kind of that smooth radio voice, they want to hear more. How
You
can
are
they
all
find
about the compliments. I love it.
how can people find out more about you, your story, some tips from you? How do we find more?
Yeah, if you are watching this on YouTube, a great place to go is my YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com/marriage, kids, and money. If you're into podcasts, I've got a award-winning podcast with over 200 episodes there. It is called Marriage, Kids, and Money. And if you're into reading, you can go to marriagekidsandmoney.com, and that is my blog. And if you want to learn the 10 steps that we took to pay off our mortgage early, you can get that at marriagekidsandmoney.com/free gift. And those are ways to connect with me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and hopefully giving everybody some hope they can have their own 10-year turnaround. So,
Absolutely. Thank you.
all right. Oh, and those of you that are watching along, if you'd like to get in touch with me, I have a free Facebook group. The shortcut to get there is lisaduke.net/money club. Or if you're already on Facebook, you can just search in groups for Money Club with Lisa Duke. Make sure you find the one with me because there's some other kind of sketchy groups called Money Club. But I share videos like this, I share blog posts, and we have a good community of folks that are on the path and kind of making the transition. We all support each other. So thank you, Andy, so much for your time, and
Thank
I will
you.
talk to y'all later.